Sanders from the block at the right tackle. This is Horton and intercepted. It's picked up by Chris Harris, the top-rated quarterback in pro football.
Bauer tipped in the air and intercepted. Picked off by Chris Harris.
And Chris Harris gets him again.
Now it's intercepted by Chris Harris, who's all the way home. What a comeback for the Broncos!
Welcome to another episode of Bleav in the Broncos on the Bleav Network, sponsored by Bet Online. I am Patrick Chiotti. I am one of your two co-hosts of this program. Joining me, as always, is former Denver Broncos Super Bowl 50 champion Chris Harris Jr. Chris, it's good to see you, man. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Excited to talk about the RBs today. Excited to have Tatum here, man. And
yes, sir.
Let's talk some ball.
And like Chris said, joining us is former Denver Broncos running back, one of my personal favorites, the GOAT of, I think it was Madden 06, Madden 05. It was one of those two. The most difficult player to play against, Tatum Bell. Tatum, it's good to see you, man. Welcome back. This is your second appearance on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, dude.
Good to see both of you guys.
Yeah. How you doing, man? It's good to see you. How's it been?
I've been well, man. I've been well. These kids keeping me busy. The wife, of course. Just blessed, blessed.
Absolutely.
So you rocking them Cowboys, man.
Yeah.
You rocking them Cowboys. I know you pulling the son. Hey, come on, go to that black and orange. I know you pulling on them a little bit.
Yeah.
I got his mom went there as well. So, but
man.
So, but nah, that's my school. That's his journey. So, we'll save that topic for another day.
One of the top wide receivers in the country, man. I'm excited to see where he goes. We brought Tatum on to talk about the Broncos running back room. This is part of our roster breakdown series. Go catch the other episodes if you haven't. There's a lot of great information in those episodes about the state of the Broncos roster as we head into training camp, which the dates were announced today. Very excited to see camp get underway. Before we dive into the running back room, we've got a quick message from our sponsors. Bet Online is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right to all the top fights in the UFC, MMA, and in boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online. The game starts here. Chris, Tatum, where we're going to start with this Denver Broncos running back room is the performance from last season. This was a group that, with Sean Payton being a first-year head coach, we've seen what Sean Payton could do with the run game in New Orleans. He's had really great running back rooms all the way back to Deuce McAllister back in the day. Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, all the way up to Alvin Kamara. These were always groups that had really great production. And last season, we were kind of hoping to see the same thing, and it just really didn't get to that point. They were just kind of stagnant. Maybe part of that was the offensive line, but Javonte Williams was coming back off that devastating knee injury. Samaje Perine was getting acclimated to being in Denver, and they had an undrafted rookie free agent as one of their main components of the offense. So it just never got going. Tatum, Chris, what are your thoughts on how the Broncos performed last season, and how do you think it stacked up with the rest of the league? Tatum, let's start with you.
I thought it was average. I thought Williams kind of rushed back, though he still kind of looked rusty coming off an injury. And I thought, most players come back more explosive, especially running backs, but you can still see he was, hindered by, I don't know if he got his explosion back. He wasn't able to break tackles like he was, his first years in the league, and that was rough. But Perine, I thought Perine was going to come in and have more success, coming out of the Cincy offense. I thought he was going to be a receiving running back, and he's a big guy. He can be a short yardage goal line back as well. But we paid him some money, so I just thought he was going to be used more I thought he was gonna be. I thought he was too big as well. You know, both of them guys big. You know, there's no change of pace with both of those guys. And then you know, like with the young guy that came in, the undrafted guy. I can't remind me his name.
Yeah,
McLaughlin. I couldn't pronounce it. That's my guy. I like him. That's the lightning. And we got to get him more touches. You know, I know he's pretty good running through the tackles and everything. But of course, his thing is in space, you know, receiving, and he brings a lot to the game. Perine, I think I see the potential in him. I just need some more out of him. Yeah. But Williams, I think Williams on the hot seat. To be honest, I think last year performance, you know, I think we forced it in there with him. You know, it was rough, and a lot has to do with the offensive line. But I didn't think they was that bad. You know, the holes were there. I don't know. That's just me looking at it as a coach.
Definitely. Chris, what did you think of the Broncos running back performance last season?
Yeah, definitely below average to below average. Because you look at every team, majority of every team has a stud back, right? Even the Chiefs with Isaiah Pacheco, right? We know that boy's gonna run hard, right? Yeah. He has some breakaway speed.
Run mad.
He runs like the Renners do.
Yeah, you know, when he ducks that head, we know he's running hard. That's what you say with AP. We don't want him to duck his head.
Absolutely.
Right. It's over. It's over for us. But, you know, I just think they're below average. You know, Williams, I didn't think he had to show the confidence in himself that he was fully healthy. He did have spurts, but not in the totality for the whole season. Perine, actually, he had a solid year, but they just didn't use him a lot. Right. No. Mainly, the only time they used him was 2-minute drills.
Yeah.
You know,
he was the 2-minute
because a lot of those drives that we got with Russell Wilson, we're going to Perine. He's hitting them little dumps. Perine taking it, getting 10 yards. You know, that was his role last year. Was pretty much I'm gonna be a third down blocker and 2-minute offensive guy. That was the role they pinned on him. And I thought he could have did a lot more, you know, given more opportunity. But and McLaughlin, you know, he had a lot of touchdowns early, you know, preseason, things like that. But it kind of slowed down once the season came. And, you know, we didn't rush. I think we were bottom of the pack in rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Right. So that's not Sean Payton, even though he has a lot of passing touchdowns, he's still always up there in the middle of the pack or close to the top in rushing touchdowns. So that's something that they got to clean up and get better for this season, because it can't just be all on the quarterback to get us in the end zone, right? It was pretty much all on Russ. If Russ didn't get us a touchdown, we're not scoring. So we got to have more balance in the red zone.
Russell Wilson and Javonte Williams last season both had the same amount of rushing touchdowns. 5 total touchdowns by Broncos running backs. That's Williams, McLaughlin, and Perine. On the season. And that's just something. And I think Javonte's didn't come until like week 11. His first one of the season didn't come until that late into the season.
I didn't even know those stats. I'm just going off of what I see. There you go, Pat.
And that's something that's like, it is very concerning. Like you said, Chris, like Sean Payton's offenses have generally been very well balanced, even throughout the Drew Brees years. You know, they were always kind of top in the league in passing yards, but they balanced it out so well with that rushing attack. And like I said at the beginning of the show, he always constructed these rooms in a very meticulous way. So you had your bruiser running back. Think back to that, like Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, and then Darren Sproles room. I mean, that's kind of like what they need to come back with. And we can look at either Perine or Williams as that bruiser back. And then McLaughlin is that Darren Sproles type of role. And we just didn't really see it mesh the way that it should have last year. I think that they left a ton on the table. And Tatum, you made a great point at the beginning. Javonte kind of seemed like he was rushing back. And this was a knee injury that a lot of players, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but a lot of players have come out and said he probably should not have been playing week 1. And that's like, when you rush a guy back, when you're trying to get him out there, I can understand that Sean wants to get eyes on every position, but this is a guy who's going into the final year of his contract. He still got 217 attempts last year. That's a lot for coming off of a knee injury. I don't think we've seen anybody come off of a devastating knee injury and get 200 plus carries since Adrian Peterson had that MVP year after he blew out his knee. So I think that this was a team that really just struggled. His vision, Tatum, you brought up a great point. The holes were there, but Javonte Williams' vision last year, I don't know whether it was just him being hesitant to hit the hole or just not seeing the hole develop. It just, they were there and it just wasn't executed well. Coming into this season, though, this is a group that has a chance to maybe revitalize some of that. So we're not going to talk about the new guys that they brought in quite yet, but Tatum, what do you need to see from Javonte Williams in this training camp to make you feel a little more confident about him potentially getting that 200 carries this season?
We got to see the explosion. We got to see the vision, and we have to see the breakaway tackles. That's what he was known for. He was always, one guy wasn't bringing him down. So he has to get back to that, beast mode, whatever you want to call it. He just has to get back into that mindset. And if we can see the explosion, because he can catch the ball out the backfield pretty good. He can be a one-stop shop. Decent. Okay, I ain't gonna say not like P. Ryan McLaughlin, but I think he can get the job done. But he has to bring that explosion back. And I think with that year off and with all the noise he was hearing in the whole off season, hopefully he'll be ready, because I feel like he's on a hot seat. With us drafting that with that young boy from Notre Dame, so I feel like he's on a hot seat because we just signed P. Ryan and McLaughlin will be back. So he better show improvements early in training camp, or he'll be on the hot seat. That's how I feel. So
definitely, and
when players back against the wall like contract years, or you always get the most out the players too. So it's second system with, then back like you were saying with Peyton having running backs. Remember back in Dallas, he had a stable. When he was with I think it was Marion the Barbarian.
Marion Barber, man.
Yeah, Marion Barber. Yeah, that was one. He always has a big guy like you were saying, and a thunder and the lightning. So hopefully one of those guys can pop off early, get those early downs, and then let McLaughlin or P. Ryan get the third down, the short yardage. But I like P. Ryan, like Chris saying, he good. He was a good 2-minute back. He can block, he has the size, and he can get the job done as well.
Definitely. Chris, what do you need to see from Javonte going into training camp to make you feel a little more confident about this group going forward?
Like you said, I need to see that quickness, that nice feet work, patient hitting the hole, setting up some runs too, right? And you got to make one guy, that's always a staple for a good running back, right? Can he make that first guy miss, right? And you're not going to do it every time in the NFL, but you got to do it you got to win more than you lose, right? So that's what we need from him. I think the O-lines definitely should be in better this year, right? You got they got second year under their belt in the system. They understand the scheme. My only issue is if we can't throw the ball, he might see some packed formations, crowded fronts. That might be the only challenge there if we can't throw the football. But other than that, I think this year, like Tatum said, your back's against the wall. It's contract year. He got to go ball, right? Yeah. And then I don't really know what the front office is doing, because we're paying. I think Javonte is getting like $2 million, right?
Yeah, he's
P-Ron getting like wasn't it $4 million deal?
Yeah. Yep.
So, right? Is P-Ron gonna make the team, or are we going? Is that in the question mark yet? Has anybody brought that up?
I said.
I think it is.
I think we got to keep P-Ron because he more valuable. So
I think both of those guys. There's a legitimate shot. And this is something that I've talked about it, a couple times on different programs, but there's a legitimate chance that neither Javonte or P. Ryan are on the starting day roster. Like there's a chance. I'm not saying that they wouldn't be. I would have to see how Javonte comes back. That first season after the injury is always tough. That's more rehab than, like, y'all know that's more rehab than actually like prepping for the season, right? He's spending his off season rehabbing the injury, getting stronger, getting that explosiveness back. And then to be rushed into a full season, 200 carries coming off of that, like not even having the off season to actually strengthen and get into playing shape. That's tough on the body.
No rhythm. He had no rhythm.
No.
Could never get in a rhythm, could never get into I had him on my fantasy team, man. He was going to be my RB 1 or 2.
Same.
I picked him late. I picked him late for a sleeper pick and thought I was, was the, the best pick of the draft, and he went to bed every week.
Yeah, calling back Tatum to you mentioned Marion Barber in Dallas. Julius Jones was that other back in that Dallas room. I mean, in 2005, Julius Jones got 257 carries. Marion Barber got 138 carries. That it was balance. You had your one guy, and then you got to bring in the other guy. So I think for me, what I need to see from Javonte in training camp is that explosiveness, but I also need to see him be more consistent with his hands out of the backfield. Ryan was great on those 2-minute drives, but Javonte, and this could have been a Russell Wilson situation, not a Javonte Williams situation. But a lot of those throws out of the backfield to Javonte were low. They were, not hitting him in the chest where it should have been. And it did result in some drops. So I'm not going to put all of them on Javonte, but I just need to see more consistency. Tatum, you were one of those backs who was known for, your quickness and then being able to be a weapon out of the backfield. I will never forget the story that you told about training camp, seeing John Lynch and Champ and Al Wilson, having to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Yep.
But another big part of the issues last season was pass blocking by these running backs. All three of the backs last season, Ryan, Williams, and McLaughlin, graded so poorly in pass blocking. So they brought in, during the NFL draft, they brought in Notre Dame running back Audric Estime, who is a big bruising back. Sean Payton talked about him being a first and second down back, his pass blocking ability. Tatum, for the listeners, tell them how important it is. I think pass blocking is one of those things that's kind of overlooked as a necessary skill for running backs. Talk a little bit about the importance of being able to be a pass blocking running back, not just a guy who can run between the tackles or catch the football out of the backfield.
That's very important. You want to be a back, like when you don't have the ball in your hands, what are you doing to help the team? That's either pass blocking or that's catching. So I've always took pride in being, undersized back, but sticking my head in there first and, attacking the linebacker. So I've always had that dog mentality in me, but some guys don't. Some guys I've been around guys who, the coach will take them out, if they know, if you're in the game. But it's very important. You have to be willing to stick your nose in there, and it's a want to. It's things that you have to practice. That was one of the worst parts of training camps, going one-on-ones with the linebackers, because it really was no rules, and they can just bull rush you, or they just trying to get to the quarterback. So you got to stand your ground, and you have to just stand in there and learn to fight. And if you've been competing and fighting your whole life, it's really no different. And so you just have to. It's an attitude. Nowadays the linebackers don't really want to bull rush you because they just want to get to the quarterback. They want to sack. If they bull rush you, sometimes they can run through you and get to the quarterback as well. But if they bull rush you, they pretty much taking themselves out to play. But nowadays they'll put a move on you and go by you. So you got to be able to come with power, and you have to be able to be elusive enough to move your feet and go, swivel your hips and go whatever way they flow and get them out of the way of the quarterback.
Absolutely. Chris, Audric Estime, he had a minor knee surgery. I guess it was more of a scope on his knee. He did miss OTAs and minicamp, but he will be 100% healthy for training camp. What are your expectations for Audric Estime going into this rookie season?
Hopefully he's 100% ready to go by training camp. Anytime you get a scope like that, I don't like giving timelines and things like that. We never know how that's going to react and come back,
Yeah.
And so we're hoping that we have good reports and he's ready to go come training camp because, they're pretty much saying, if you're ready to go, if you're a dog, hey, we want to give you the spot, right?
Yeah,
and that's pretty much what they're saying. Because I just can't imagine them paying so much at the running back position.
They won't.
That's never ever been the Denver Broncos. I've never since I've been a part of Denver. We have not paid a running back. Right?
Last
No shine.
Was
Let him go.
Travis Henry. Right after they traded me, then they signed Travis
Yeah.
Henry. That was the last one. They
Yeah.
paid McGahee. They paid McGahee.
They paid CJ, but
bit.
like it wasn't much. Like
wasn't much.
It was like just above market value. I feel like they yeah, like you said, Chris,
I think these
historically,
guys are
they
getting
don't.
paid more than CJ though. If I'm just
Yeah.
being real, they
Oh
might
yeah,
have
yeah.
a bigger deal than
McGahee and
CJ
Henry,
had.
yeah.
Yeah.
Henry got a huge
So
deal.
like, no, I'm talking about these guys now.
Oh yeah.
If you combine them, if you combine,
Yeah.
because CJ did all 3 downs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he can catch
That's
out the
right.
backfield.
And he could block.
So-
and he could block.
And could block, right?
Mhm.
He was a lot of times, he was like, we give Peyton a lot of credit, right? As we should, right? He is a genius, right? But we can't knock CJ Anderson being back there, being able to read protections or read blitzes and things like that, because he was another ear for Peyton. Right?
Absolutely.
That's very important. So
Absolutely.
it's just hard for me to see us paying these 2 guys, what we're paying them. And I can see us paying one of them. Right? I
Yeah.
can't see both of them being on the team.
I think if
What I said that's why I was saying Williams got to be on the hot seat. Ryan more valuable because he can do it all. And Williams just, first and second down. So, and now we got the Notre Dame kid. And
so looking at, I'm looking at these contracts right now for running backs. Jonathan Taylor got that huge extension. He's averaging about $14 million. Alvin Kamara is still the second highest paid running back in the league. And I think he's going into the final year of his deal. He's got a 2026.
I see Kamara live. I played with Kamara.
Yeah.
They're not using him right at all. Hey, he's worth that money.
Come on,
seen him live.
man.
I'm like,
bring him to Denver.
Hey, if we got him to Denver, he's worth it. He's worth it. They just don't use him right.
I think that that would be, if you add him, you remove either one of Javonte or Perine, probably more likely Perine because he's 29 years old. He's in the final year of his deal. He's making about $3.75 million is his average per year. That's kind of more so the guy that like a contender would use. He could go to a contending team and really use that. But with the Saints and where they're at, they're kind of in that weird position. And the Broncos are also in this weird position where a lot of people think that they're not going to be able to compete, but maybe they could. There's so many unknowns.
I got a question. Are number 2 running backs getting paid what P. Ryan's getting paid?
So that's a great question. I'm looking here. Najee Harris is making just under 3.7. Antonio Gibson is literally at the same average per year as Samaje Perine. He's the number 2 back in New England. We can't really say Mostert is a number 2 back. I think he's probably the Dolphins number 1 back. Yeah, he's at 4.1. Jamal Williams is at $4 million. I think it's around that market, but the running back market is so strange. The rookie contract is barely lower than the number 2 running back market, right? So Jahmyr Gibbs is making 4.46 as on his rookie deals. He's in the second year of his rookie deal. And then it jumps all the way up from that to, let's see, Devin Singletary is making 5.5. David Montgomery is making 6. Miles Sanders is making 6.3 with the Panthers. These are guys that are on their second contracts and they're making this amount of money. And Perine, I think, should be on his 3rd contract by now. But yeah,
this is his second one because we just paid him his second contract. I think it was a 2-year deal, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at Perine's contract, he has to play more. We got to use him more. If we're gonna pay him,
he was not used the same.
What we're paying him, the price tag for what we're paying a number 2 guy. I think he plays a little special teams. I think I seen him on punt. I think he's on there a little bit.
Which I completely understand. He
has to because our number 3 guy. McLaughlin, like you said, does he contribute? Your number 3 guy has to be a major contributor on special teams.
Absolutely.
McLaughlin got 12 more snaps than Samaje Perine did. He got 23 more carries than Samaje Perine.
So he's your number 2 back then.
Yeah. So why are we paying the number 3 back?
That's my point. Do you see what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
We're paying this guy number 3 back to come in on sparingly, right? And he's not a
Mhm.
major contributor on special teams, right? Just to be the number 3 guy. It doesn't make any sense. It's just I can see him. Maybe P. Ryan's on the hot seat.
Yeah, I think there's a case for both of those guys. Tatum, the Broncos brought in Audric Estime. You know, we talked a little bit about him, but what do you think he could bring to this Broncos offense?
Hopefully he can bring the pass blocking like you brought up. If he can be a pass blocker, he's gonna be the guy. Especially he's gonna win the first and second downs. Then they'll keep him in. Maybe, you know, pass block. We'll see if his hands are decent, but I definitely know he'll be our bruiser. He's a big boy, you know what I mean? So, and if he has any kind of quickness or, you know, but we rush Javonte back. I hope we don't rush the young kid back, you know, coming off that knee scope. Let him time to recover and, you know, kind of get into his groove. But Javonte's, he got to come with it this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think Estime is going to be he's an interesting character, man. Like, he had 209 rushes last season at Notre Dame, over 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. He led the NCAA in rushing touchdowns last year. Only 17 targets out of the backfield, but 17 receptions, 142 yards there. Chris, what do you think? What can Audric Estime bring to this Broncos offense?
Yeah. We need that physical toughness, that hard nose, especially in the red zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those teams that can just run it in, those teams demoralize you as a defense, right? Because you're doing whatever you can to stop them, but they can just run it in, right? Those teams are tough, and that's what we need to be. We need to have that identity. We need to start bringing that, especially with an experience, expensive O-line, right? We got to be able to run the football.
Yeah.
And that's where I seen was a major. That's why we got this kid, because we got to score in the red zone. We got to finish the drives. It can't just be all on the quarterbacks. It can't be all on Cortland to get in, get us in the end zone. Also, man, we got to be able to. We need to take some plays from Jahmyr Gibbs and what they use in Detroit, but which he should already have this in his system, right?
Yeah,
with Jaleel McLaughlin, like he should already have these plays with Alvin Kamara and Sproles. Like, we got to get this guy in space and be able to get him on some routes, get him some mismatches, man. Match him up on a running back or a linebacker or something. Find a way to get this guy a mismatch.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
For the record, yards after contact is such a big stat for running backs. How do you do after contact? Tatum, you brought up the fact that in Javonte's first 2 seasons, he was one of the better backs after contact. Audric Estime last season, he was second in the NFL, in NCAA, behind Troy's Kamani Vidal with 892 yards after contact. He is a big dude. He can fight through tackles very well.
Nice.
But Tatum, Chris, there's another back on the team that the Broncos brought in after the draft who could potentially be someone to take a spot maybe from Jaleel McLaughlin, and that was Memphis's Blake Watson. And if y'all have not watched this dude, go watch this dude. He is nice out of the backfield. He can run great routes. He's got really sure hands, but he's a very tough runner as well. He's about 5'9". He's a very similar build to Jaleel, but he's a tough runner and he runs really well between the tackles. Chris, you've watched a little bit of Blake Watson. I know this for sure. What do you think that he could potentially provide the Broncos offense?
Also, he's a great returner, right?
Amen.
He's definitely he might, if we're looking at him from college, he probably is the best receiver threat that we had in the backfield coming into the NFL. If we just look at his film. So he's definitely a threat. Only thing is his size. Can he hold up in the league with his size? Same thing with Jaleel. That pounding every year. Can these guys hold up and be a staple running back in this league? And it's to be continued, because when you're small like that, you got to be a different dog. Yeah, right. Yeah. You got to have a different attitude to you, especially at the running back. So, but this guy definitely has the ability as a returner. He could, you never know. Maybe want to give him some breaks. This guy can definitely be a guy that potentially to be the backup returner for sure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Blake was, speaking of yards after contact, for those running backs that were drafted this last year, Blake Watson was 10th in yards after contact, even at his size. Speaking of being able to produce in this offense and with a different quarterback under center this year, if we look back at Bo Nix and what he was able to do at Oregon, a lot of what they were able to do off of play action was because they had a very strong running game. Bucky Irving, one of the best running backs in this last draft. I don't care what anybody says. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Yes, he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in Tampa Bay. But he was a big reason why Bo Nix and the Oregon offense were able to get so much production, because that play action, teams really thought that Bucky Irving was going to be running through that hole. But if we can't get this run game going, if Sean Payton cannot get this run game under control and get it, start producing some numbers with it, it's going to be a tough time for Bo Nix. Tatum, for a rookie quarterback, having running backs that you can trust has to be such a big, big thing. What do you think that Bo Nix, a rookie, is going to expect from his running backs as going into his rookie season?
I'm pretty sure Peyton already had the meeting. Hey guys, we're gonna have a young quarterback. We're gonna be heavily dependent on our running game to basically get us in manageable third downs and be where you're supposed to be in the check down. Make sure you filling them A gaps, B gaps on them blitzes. And if they do that and they cover their job, I think it'll be an easy transition for Bo Nix.
Yeah, I love that. Chris, what do you think? What's the biggest thing that Bo Nix should be expecting from his running backs?
Yeah. Man, when you can run the ball, it just makes it easier on the quarterback. Just less pressure, especially as a rookie. It's hard to play in the Mile High. It's hard to play in Denver as a rookie.
Yeah.
So anything that can help him, especially having a run game, is going to be crucial. That can open up the play action. He can get more man looks where he can take more shots, easier throws. Right when you're behind the sticks, teams bring out everything.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, hey, let me look at my little play. I'm drawing out everything out. Right. I'm bringing all the exotic blitzes, double A gap looks. We're bringing them all out for you. So we got to keep, like you said, like Tatum said, we got to get them short, keep them in third down and minimum.
Yeah.
Right. Have run the ball, run the clock, give these teams less possessions and play solid defense. That got to be the motto all year, right? Yeah. Especially with a rookie quarterback.
When the last few years in Dallas with Peyton and with San Francisco, not San Francisco, New Orleans, them guys always own the time of possession. No turnovers. Yeah. Eat the clock up. Third and 3. We're trying to get to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. That's what we're trying to get. That's the goal. So, and then Peyton, we don't have a fullback. Oh, I think you said we had one fullback.
Yeah, Michael Burton. He came back. He was great Burton last year, man.
I like Burton.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, he got some dog in him. I like him.
Now, Tatum. Last thing before we get out of here, I was going to bring up the fullback. You did it. You had a guy in Denver who was kind of a pseudo running back, fullback hybrid type. And another one of my personal favorite Broncos of all time, Mike Anderson. Okay. Talk about playing with Mike and what attitude that guy who's at the fullback position has to play with.
He was an older guy. He was and when I came in, he was having success. Mike was a different kind of breed because and this was the older training. You had to put full pads on two a days. I remember I'll never forget my first practice. Mike went out there. We was out there warming up. He was coming from the car. We're like, man, where you coming from? He was like, man, he was smoking a black. He smoked Black and Miles before every practice. It was the craziest thing ever. I'll never forget. I was a rookie. I'm like, man, what? And I know he got hurt. My rookie year, he got hurt.
Yeah.
When Ruben had took over the job.
Yeah.
When Mike came back, my second year, he had 1,000 yards and I had 900 that year. But Mike was a dog, man. He knew the offense inside and out. He taught me so much stuff about pass protection and how to cheat your alignment to get to the guys. He was a good mentor for all the other backs. The locker room at that time wasn't a bunch of guys just looking out for themselves. They was always trying to bring the younger guys up. And he was one of those guys. And Bobby Turner, he always, hey, man, you only good as, the strength of the whole room. So when all of y'all are competing to be the guy, then it's only gonna bring the best out of the guy that actually is the guy, and it'll bring this elevate the whole team. Like Chris was saying, just take so much pressure off the quarterback. But Mike was a dog, man. He was a different breed. He was big, he was fast, he knew he had
strong.
He'll run you over, he can make you miss. He was legit.
Yeah,
he was legit, man. He was a good guy. Yeah.
Well, Tatum, last thing that we do for these roster breakdown episodes is give our prediction who the final room, who the final players are going to be in that room. So I think, Chris, we said last year they kept 4 running backs. So we're going to do the same. Tatum, since you're the guest on this show, give us your 4 running backs who you think will be on the Broncos opening day roster.
Well, I'm going to count both the rookies.
Okay.
I like Watson, and I like the Notre Dame kid.
Yep.
Got to be McLaughlin.
Yep.
And the final spot going to have to come. I'm gonna say P. Ryan.
Okay, I like it.
I'm gonna say P. Ryan because he can play special teams. I don't think Javonte playing no special teams. I know the rookies playing special teams, but all them other guys, if you're not the first or two, if you're not the starter, you're gonna be on special teams or you're gonna be a backup. So that second gonna be a backup. The third and fourth guys definitely gonna be starters on special teams. So
love it.
That's
That's a bold prediction.
I just hopefully he can show the turnover and get his groove back. I'm not wishing negative on him, but I think so.
Got to be real. Chris, what about you? Who are your 4 guys?
I think Patton, he's gonna keep his draftee.
I think
they draft him in the 3rd round.
Yep.
He ain't gonna cut him. He don't want to look bad for cutting him. So I say Williams stays, Piron gone.
Okay.
Let's go with the rookie Notre Dame.
Estime.
1 spot. Estime. McLaughlin. That's 3, right?
Yep.
I say we pick up a free agent after preseason.
Really? Okay.
And then we go with Burton.
Keeping Watson. Yeah. Burton's gonna have his
Watson plays practice squad, and we can pull him up and pull him down when we need to.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fair. I like that. Yeah. I think my 4, I'm gonna say P. Ryan gets released in camp. He'll probably want to go play for a contender, which I completely understand. And I think he could be a serious contributor to.
He'll go back to Cincinnati.
Yeah, which they only have. Yeah, they only have. I mean, Zach Moss is their starting running back right now. So I think they'll need some more help. So yeah, Javonte, Estime, McLaughlin, and then they have Beatty on the roster. I think they like Beatty quite a bit. So they'll probably keep him for the opening week, and like you said, Chris, keep Watson on the practice squad. But I think that'll probably change by probably week 5 or 6, and then Burton, of course, as the fullback. But Tatum, that's going to be it for our roster breakdown episode for the running backs. Thank you so much for joining the show, Tatum. You will always have a special place in Broncos fans' hearts, and especially in mine. Let the people know where they can find you, man.
Man, I'm just on Twitter, man. I'm not really into social media, and I stay out the way. TX is my Twitter. I just stay out the way, man. I don't really have to. That's the only social media.
You're gonna find him on here, man. You're gonna find him on Bleav Network.
Find him on Bleav in the Broncos.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, hey,
anytime, fellas. That was awesome. Thank you for having me.
We'll have you back on during the season. Hopefully that, Bleav should reach out to you for the Oklahoma State show for sure. Because they could use you, man. And you know what? I'm gonna keep my eye on Ollie Gordon, not only for the Heisman, but maybe as a future Bronco. Who knows? You can find Chris and I on Twitter at Patrick Chiotti, at Chris Harris Jr. Follow at Bleav Network as well. Make sure you subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. And make sure you go over to the YouTube and subscribe there as well. Until next time, Broncos country, we'll be seeing you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right.